Getting started on the live. Okay. Welcome everyone. Okay, we are live. A little late, had tech issues. I tried to do the Instagram route. For some reason, wasn't working on my laptop, so I'm gonna have to figure that out next time. And then I had to switch over, and I tried to do TikTok on my laptop. That wasn't working. For those that are on TikTok, can you let me know, can you actually see me okay? Because I've actually turned the camera sideways, so I don't know, am I on my head, like on my side here, or can you see me straight on? And I may have to just switch that over just so that we can switch the mirroring effect from when oh, now I'm upside down. Okay, that's not gonna work. There we go. Shit, did I lose it? Where did it go? All right. There. No. Shit. Okay, tech issues galore today. My screen, I'm upside down, so we're gonna do it this way. Gotta love these tech issues. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna take a deep breath, because if not, I'm gonna lose my shit. And that's not very cool for a happiness coach to do on her live. But at least it would be real authentic, and you would know that I actually implement this stuff that I am teaching, that I use this stuff every day. So welcome guys, if this is your first time here, my name is Tina. I'm a happiness coach. Thank you. I'm a happiness coach, and I help people that deal with anxiety, depression, just generally not happy in either their personal or their professional life, and I help them get to a happy place. And I do this, my goal is to help people heal past trauma. My goal is to hit 1 million. So if you are on TikTok, make sure you tap the screen, share the live. It helps share this with more people, and then they can actually maybe be helped by what I'm sharing. So, and I do share my personal experiences, and I will bounce back and forth between personal experiences and business experiences. So you kind of get a little bit of both. So sometimes we'll also go into a little bit of the spiritual side, and then I also tie that into how that can be used in business and a more logical aspect of it, because I was somebody who fought the whole spirituality woo-woo kind of stuff. So I fought all that, and so I find it funny that, and I still am fairly closeted on this, that I'm like, the closeted Christian. But I do share some things, and it's because it's more of a personal relationship with God rather than the traditional, follow these rules or this doctrine kind of stuff. So tonight we're going to talk about a few different subjects. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about beliefs, how your beliefs as a leader can impact your team. We're going to dive into a bit of change management stuff as well. And all of this stuff, whether it's in business or in your personal life, these universal processes, truths, whatever you want to call them, they apply in multiple areas. And when I call them universal truths because it doesn't matter what situation you're in, you can actually utilize these tools, apply them, and it will bring about positive change, whether in your work environment or your professional or personal life. Okay, so so to start a little bit, believing in lies and how that can actually benefit you. I know it's a bit of a strange subject, right? It's like, well, no, it's like, aren't you about truth and logic and facts and figures? And how you can benefit yourself. And I think some of this was coming because I went on a walk today, and I was listening to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and I was listening to the audiobook as I walked around the area. Yes, I actually made it out in daylight today. But you know, some of this stuff, it's like it can be hard to grasp when you're first dealing with it. I've been dealing with this in various formats, not necessarily just that one, but in various formats. And when you see something that is a universal truth, it will start popping up in other ways. People will tell the same story in a different format so that people can understand and they learn those things. So believing lies. So this is kind of like affirmations are lies that we tell ourselves until they are true, kind of thing. So, and I remember, I think I got that from like a Saturday Night Live skit or something like years ago. But to me, that kind of made sense, because when you're first starting out to make a change, you don't know if you can actually make the change. So you have a lot of fear, you have a lot of doubt, but you have to have some sort of almost delusional belief that this can be possible. Because if you don't have that belief, then why even pursue it? If you don't think it's possible for it to happen, why even try? So, and I got to thinking about the whole concept of God and stuff like that. And today I was like, you know, back in the early days when I was fighting and arguing about whether or not God was real and everything, and what I ended up coming to the conclusion of is whether he is or isn't. And please know that I am beyond this point, but this is where I started. I had to start with something that was logical, that I could at least wrap my head around with, because I fought it so hard. I have a completely different perception of it now, and I'm a strong believer. So what I did is I said, okay, well, I can't really scientifically, quantifiably prove that God isn't real. So therefore, if I cannot prove something is real, and if I am using like a business mindset, so if I'm using a business mindset of that, and you had a situation or a potential situation in business where there could be a potential problem, then you usually put in contingency plans or potential plans of in case that event might happen. And it reminded me of back when Y2K was a thing. Yes. And I had to do all kinds of contingency plans for the business that I was working in at the time. And we had to come up with all kinds of plans and scenarios of like, you know, hey, if all of our systems shut down, how are we going to get the orders from the customer, and how is the warehouse going to pick the orders, and all of these kind of things, right? So we put all these plans, we had all these SOPs, we had contact lists, how we were going to get in contact with everybody if all of a sudden our systems didn't work. And I was like, man, this was only this was only soup that we were dealing with. I'd hate to see if we were dealing with like life-saving equipment or something like that, but you know, it was food products in a grocery retailer. And so having to go through all of those contingency plans and putting these processes in place for something that wasn't even real. It didn't happen. It's like we all held our breath that New Year's Eve when the clock struck midnight and nothing happened. And it was like, damn, we did months of friggin' work putting in all these contingency plans for something that wasn't even real. And I'm sure somewhere out there, there's probably some branch of the government or something like that that is, you know, putting contingency plans in place in case aliens are real, or in case, you know, a meteor hits the earth or something like that, right? You know, so somebody has to think of these things, and those are probably categorized as overthinkers. However, they have strategic planning in the event of a catastrophic event. So now, if you take that business concept, which I think most people in business can see that that makes sense, that is logical, and why the hell wouldn't you try to, you can't plan for every possible failure, but If there is a known possibility, it's like, well, what if a competitor comes in and tries to do this and steals this? What are we going to do? How do we deal with that? What if our system does go down? How are we going to deal with those kind of things? You have some sort of contingency plan in place if you have a business of any appreciable size. So now if you take that same business concept and apply it to God, and say you don't believe in God, you don't believe in religion, you don't believe in spirituality or all this woo-woo bullshit. Okay? What if you're wrong? And that's where I went. I was like, what if I'm wrong on this? Should I not at least try to put some sort of, should I not hedge my bet? And if it is at all a possibility, and I live my life in accordance to those things, does it do any harm to me, or does it help me? So when I kind of looked at it from that perspective, I was at least willing to explore the possibility of, what if this is real? And this got me to thinking about the whole what if game, right? Because a lot of times when we play the what if game, hey Thammer, we often play it for worst case scenarios, right? We think of all the, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And, my ex-husband used to say to me, and what if aliens landed on the earth? What are you going to do then? It's like, I'm doing really well. I hope you're doing well as well. So we catastrophize. Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, we worry about the worst case scenarios, and we have all of those kind of things. And the funny thing is that when it's not those things that are actually the problem, because most of those are not going to happen. But if the thing that you're wanting to happen actually happens, that's what you actually need to start strategizing about. Because what if what you wanted actually happened? Holy shit. Now you have to put all these other things in place because you've been so busy thinking about all the ways that it's not going to happen, and you have all kinds of plans laid out for, okay, if these things don't fall through, then I'm going to do this, this, and this, right? So you have all of those plans, but you have no frigging clue what to do if your dreams come true. And most of us play the what if game incorrectly. So I wanted to throw that out because those are things that I fall into quite a bit, and I get stuck into thinking of all the things that could go wrong when really, and this applies in business as well, it's like, okay, let's assume we do hit our target numbers. What's going to happen? How many customers? It's like, okay, we set the goal, we're going to hit this many dollars in a month, in sales. And it's like, okay, well, how many customers does that equate to? How many people are coming in the door? Do we have the strategy in place? Like, how many onboarding meetings are we going to have if it's a coaching business? It's like, or do we have the operations staff to be able to handle all of the things that need to go on? So it's like, we often plan for those failures, but we don't plan for the successes. So let's start focusing and shifting our, because I can promise you the success will end up bringing way more problems than you could ever anticipate. And most people don't put that in place until it becomes a huge problem, and then they're like now trying to solve for another problem, because it's like, oh, we thought all we had to do was hit that target and everything would be peachy keen. And it's not. And it's usually a shit show. And then everybody's like, oh my God, what happened? What are we doing? And they're scrambling, and then there's angry feelings, hurt feeling, and then people pointing the finger at each other, and there's fighting, and all this kind of drama ends up happening. And a lot of unhappiness can end up happening in the workplace or in relationships too. It's like, hey, like, you know what, let's move in together or something. And it's like, okay, let's do that, and it'll save us money, and we'll do all those kind of things, and it's going to be awesome. And it's like, but you don't think of like, okay, so when that happens, then what? what are the challenges that are going to come up from that? Bonus of that is whatever you put out there in hitting the target, if you start focusing on what challenges are going to start to come up when we achieve that target, then we can start battle planning further ahead, and then we can start kind of going, oh shit, the thing that I was worried about isn't so scary, it's the stuff that comes after that that gets scary. That's what we need to worry about. So you do this in business, and you do this in personal friendships. You're going on a trip. It's like, okay, or say you're buying a house, right? Like when I bought my first brand new build, it's like I was so focused on, whether or not we could actually qualify for the mortgage and doing all those kind of things, that I hadn't thought of, like, okay, well, when this happens, then we've got to start doing all these other things. We need to move, because it's a new build, we had to buy all kinds of new stuff for the house that we hadn't really budgeted for, because we were so focused on the other things. And it's like there were all these additional expenses we hadn't planned for because we weren't thinking that far ahead. So it's important to be able to think past the goal and assume, when I achieve this, what are the next set of challenges? Because it doesn't matter whether you have success or failure, there will always be problems. There will always be things that need to be solved, and that is a good thing. So learning to fall in love with that, fall in love with the fact that there are problems, that there are things that need to be solved, because it would basically be like playing life in God mode, and that just wouldn't be any fun, right? Like if you've played a video game in God mode, sure, it's fun at first if you're getting your frustration out. Like I've played Doom on God mode, and it's like you just kind of go through, but it takes all the fun out of it. Because I remember the first time I played, I think it was Doom 3 when they re-released it. Not the original Doom, but man, I played that, and I played it in the dark. I was like so scared playing the damn game, and I was like creeping around the corners and doing all this kind of stuff. And this one point I was like trying to sneak down the stairs, and I knew the friggin' imp was gonna be down at the bottom of the stairs, and I was like, damn it, I hate it when I'm right. And it's like it jumped out, but I was leaning so far forward, I actually lost my balance out of the chair, and I hit my chin on the TV tray. It was, yeah, I'm a derp. A little bit of a segue there. Okay, so when you're thinking of the problems or the solutions, always focus on assuming you are going to actually achieve that, and there's going to, and it's not going to be like, oh, everything's going to be great. No, this is why most people are actually more afraid of success, and that prevents them from achieving their goals versus the failure. We all know how to deal with failure. I mean, we're human, right? So if you're listening, then I can promise you've had some experience with failures. But most of us haven't had the experience of actually achieving the dream life, right? So and then when we do, there's all kinds of new challenges that come up. So we have to work through those. Okay. I'm going to skip these ones for a different topic. So I'm going to go into more of of a business type scenario of 3 key ingredients. I'm going to write on the black or the whiteboard here. 3 key ingredients that I think that you need in order to be successful in making a change, any type of change. And I want you guys to be interactive if you can. So if you're on Facebook, type in the comments or whatever you think, TikTok as well. So the 3 things that I think that you need are belief, desire, and action. of these three, which one do you guys feel is most important? Belief, desire, or action? So if you think of it in making a change, if you had, say, person A and person B. My awesome stick figures, you wouldn't believe that I'm an artist. I go for more abstract art, but I do have some things. So, this person, let's say they have the beliefs that something is possible, and they have the desire something's possible, that they have the desire to achieve something. But they don't take any action. Is that the person that is going to be successful? Okay. Let's say this person, they have the desire and they take the action, but they don't really believe that it's possible to achieve the goal. So they'll put in the work, they'll start moving forward, and they want the outcome, they desire the result. Maybe they want to make 100K or something like that. And they'll take the action, but they don't truly have the belief that it's going to happen. Do you think that person's going to hit their goal? Do you think they're going to be successful? No. Because as soon as it gets hard, they're going to take that as evidence that, see, I knew it couldn't work. See, I knew it wouldn't happen. See, I knew it wasn't possible. They didn't have the belief that it could actually be done. So we'll just do it this way. I think, yes, there we go. Okay, so they didn't really have the belief that it could actually be done. So also, if you don't have the desire, you're going to give up on one. So if you are missing any of these three, you're going to be able, you're not going to be able to hit your goal. Damon, no, I won't be quiet, but you can go by. I don't understand why somebody would come on somebody else's live and start shit-talking them. Go find a hobby. Okay, so belief, if you believe something is possible, you will continue to go after it. You will continue to do whatever it takes to achieve the goal because you believe it's possible. You also have to desire the outcome. Otherwise, if you don't, then you will eventually end up giving up. And obviously, if you don't take the action or consistent action, then you will not achieve the goal as well. So even as long as you have belief and desire, and then you take action, even if that action is inconsistent, all it's going to do is elongate the timeline of how long it's going to actually take you to achieve your goal. You will need to, if you want the result faster, then you have to take action more frequently, more consistently, to achieve that in a shorter time frame. However, if you do it sporadically, you can still potentially achieve your goal as long as you're taking action and you have the belief that it is possible and the desire for the outcome, and then you take the action. So I think while everybody focuses on action, you can't achieve anything without action. And while that is true, you also cannot achieve anything without belief or desire. Because I can promise you, you could have the belief that it's possible, you could take the action, but if all of a sudden now that thing is not important to you, you're going to stop. You're going to pivot. You're going to do something else because you're like, fuck, I don't actually like this anymore. I thought I wanted this, but now I realized I was doing it for my parents, or I was doing it because so-and-so said it was a good idea and I wanted their approval. So oftentimes we end up chasing things that we think are important to us but when we start doing some inner work, we may find that wasn't really my dream. That was somebody else's dream. And I was chasing it because I wanted somebody's approval, because I thought that if I did this thing, then therefore I would have value. And when you come from a background like I did, where childhood abuse was very, very common, you don't have a great sense of self-worth. Even with the therapy that I did, I was better than I was, but there was a lot of work that I still had to uncover, and I think it's probably going to be a lifelong journey. So I really love this process. That being said, it's not like, how I know I've actually healed from some of the trauma is when I can look at the coping mechanisms, behaviors that I developed as survival strategies, and these are not conscious survival strategies. They're just things that you do, decisions you've made in an extreme circumstance that you end up continuing to do those processes. When I can look back on that situation, and instead of seeing that as a liability, because now I've made different decisions in my current reality, so I'm no longer stuck in not being in control of the behavior. Because sometimes those coping mechanisms that I've learned actually still are beneficial. And I want to keep those things, and I want to do those things. So like, although you shift it, you shift the perspective. So for example, not feeling good enough. One of the ways that I learned to cope with not feeling good enough is I would work a lot. If, you know, and I was always had the feeling of that I wasn't worth anything. So I would always try to find ways to make myself useful because I didn't feel useful. I didn't feel valuable. Now, I can still take that same work ethic and just tweak the feeling valuable, feeling like I'm worth something, and not doing the work because that's a way to prove my worth. It's having that intrinsic value within myself, and when I feel valuable, I actually do even more work. So if this was the level of work that I did when I didn't feel good about myself, when I actually feel good about myself and I believe in myself and I desire the outcome, I'm going to work even fucking harder. This is how hard I was working when I didn't believe in myself. I want you guys to understand that. If you can increase your belief in yourself, belief in the outcome, belief in your desires are possible, you're going to increase your action. So this is why it's so important for leaders to instill belief into their team. For you to instill belief into yourself by finding proof, finding evidence. At the very least, one of the things that I did is like, maybe I can't do what so-and-so does. But I know one thing that, like, you dig down to these core beliefs about yourself is I am teachable. I know there's some people out there will probably argue that, because I will get stubborn about shit that I don't understand or I don't agree with. And until you make it make sense, I won't fucking move forward. I'll dig my heels in and you'll see my stubborn Aries side come out. So that being said, when it makes sense to me, then that brake, that emergency brake comes off and I'm off to the races, and I will move forward, usually very, very quickly. But it's got to be clear. It's got to be clear. So if anybody is lacking that clarity, that usually stops them. Why don't you share where you're from? I'm in Canada. Welcome. So those kind of things, you want to be able to share that belief with your team and build that belief. Germany, nice. I haven't been there. I haven't actually been overseas. I've been to Canada and US, and that's the limited scope of how much I get out. But I did celebrate that I walked around the neighborhood today. So, so with belief, building that belief in people, there's some little ways that can end up creating toxic behaviors in the workplace that can erode people's belief. Okay, good walk outside is always a great idea. I know it was unreasonably warm today too, so it was nice to get out in the sunshine. So smart leaders will not just give you answers. They know the answer, but they don't just give you the answer. They will actually ask you questions. Versus, think of somebody, trying to think of a universal kind of character. Think of, the comic book guy from Simpsons. Everybody know the comic book guy? Okay, he's the guy that runs the comic book store in The Simpsons. And he's like, well, actually, and he's always got something to say and correcting people with random stupid shit that doesn't actually matter about anything, but he's wanting to be right for the sake of being right. So that kind of micromanaging, sticks to the letter of the law kind of thing. And it's like, well, or the grammar police, those kind of people too. Yeah, I know the neckline has kind of gone a little bit lower because of the weight that I've lost, and this dress is a little bit big on me, so pardon me for the cleavage. So with that, the comic book guy and the grammar police kind of thing. So they're always doing things that'll be correcting you, micromanaging, being very precise about details that don't really have an impact on the greater scope. I've been a little bit guilty on this. Everybody's got their little thing of, what they find important. And when it's kind of like, when you have a brand name versus the generic brand of something, it's like there's some things that you don't mess with. You don't want the generic brand on. And it's like, you want to buy the better quality kind of one, right? So it's that kind of thing. So focusing on smart leaders will know the answer, but they will ask questions versus just giving the answer to their team, because that helps instill the belief in the team that they actually know the answer. You just need to encourage them that it's okay for them to believe that they know the answer. So when you question them on that kind of stuff, now don't be one of those guys that ends up oh God, really? Come on. So don't be one of those guys like the guy that I just blocked, because you will get blocked. Go find a hobby, honestly. If you want that kind of stuff, go on Pornhub. Like, not that I recommend that stuff, but just go away. Leave the content creators that are actually trying to do something different and trying to actually help people and change people's lives. Yeah. All right. So, how people misuse this. So I have seen managers where they don't know the answer. They do not want to say that they don't know the answer. So they will use asking questions as a way to deflect the attention from them that they don't know the answer about something. So they will do question after question after question, and then when somebody starts to catch on to that they don't actually know, then they have to switch to a gaslighting method of like, well, I don't think that's actually true. I think you need to check those numbers. I've seen this happen so many times in business. And it's like, oh, we got you that you actually don't know. And it's like, I can I pick that stuff up. I don't call it out all the time, but I pick it up. It's like, oh man. And it's like, you actually lose respect when you do that kind of stuff, because people can feel it. They know that you don't know. And the funny thing is, those very people are the same ones that expect you to say, hey, if you don't know something, tell us, and then say that I'll go get the answer. It's like, you know what, I'm not sure about that, I'll get the answer. But people are often very afraid of being able to say that, so they avoid it, and they try to find other ways to hide and cover up. And it's like, it just comes across as very inauthentic and weak, actually. And I can give you so many examples, work-wise, where I see this, because at the same time, although I recognize it, I also have a lot of compassion for it, because I often wonder, it's like, well, what kind of abuse did you actually endure that you are too afraid to speak up and say, I don't know, but I'll find out? Because I know that there's some people that they've shared, it's like, oh, I didn't want to say that I didn't know the answer, so I just made something up. And I'm like, I remember before I started doing healing work and started doing therapy and all that kind of stuff, that I would lie when it was just as easy to tell the truth. So, but I had to have people demonstrate that to me, because if they hadn't, I wouldn't have known that, you mean I don't have to make up these random elaborate things? I could just say, you know what, I don't have the answer for that, but I will get it for you. I think it might be this, but I don't want you to quote me on that, because I'm not 100% sure, but I'll double check, and I'll send you an email, or I'll follow up, or I'll call you back and just confirm that that's what I think it is, right? Or I've done this too. It's like, you know what? I have no idea what the answer is for that, but I think I know who I can talk to, and they might know who can help with that and point us in the right direction. So there's a lot of different ways that you can say that you don't know things without coming across as weak. Like, I mean, you tell me, which of those two would you appreciate more? Somebody who lies and tries to cover up that they don't know the answer to something, or somebody who says, you know what, I don't know, but I'll find out? Which one would you have more confidence in? Which one would you have more respect for? Yet all the time in business, I see, I've been told directly not to be that open. Don't say that we have system problems, Tina. And it's like, but we do have system problems. It's a legit thing. And when the system's fixed, I will be able to get them the answer. So I provide the solution. I let them know what happened. And it actually builds a lot of trust. Yet there's some environments where that is a no-no. You're not allowed to tell people the truth. You can't solve anything when you do that. How are you supposed to operate? And what you don't understand is that although you may be saving face in the moment, you're actually losing respect. So smart leaders know that how to ask questions of their team to build their confidence, and not do it in a belittling way. Make sure it's a safe kind of questioning method. Don't be like rapid fire, constant, well, what about this and what about that? And then you end up undermining their confidence. They're like, oh shit, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Or like they're asking a lot of questions. Gauge their reaction to it too, because they may have gone through a previous experience with a previous boss that they're now afraid that when they did speak up in their past environment, that was not looked upon very well. That was frowned upon. They got punished for it, or it got used against them, whatever. So they, if you have somebody on your team that you sense that they are hiding something, being able to turn that situation around to create an environment where it is safe for them to open up, for them to say, you know what, I actually don't know the answer, and it's okay. And the best way to do that is by you as a leader demonstrating that for them, because when they see, hey, I don't actually know the answer, but I'll get it, and you're not just pretending that you know everything, they're going to respect you a lot more. You're also setting the tone, the pace, the belief that it's okay to do that. And they will follow your lead, whether it's a good lead or a bad lead. Okay? So making sure that the things that we want from our team, that we are actually doing them. If we want them to be open, honest, authentic, because that'll help you solve problems. Because if they don't communicate with you, if they don't tell you some of the challenges that are going on, and you find out afterwards that they knew about this problem and never brought it to your attention, on a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed off are you going to be as a business owner, as a manager, that somebody on your team knew of the problem, never communicated it, and sat on it? I'm telling you, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably be about a 15. I get really pissed at that stuff because it could have been avoided. If we had known about it, we could have put something in place to prevent those problems from happening. So, how do you ask the questions without interrogating them, without undermining their confidence? So I think of it in a situation of, like, think of somebody who's just relaxed, sitting there, and, you know, they're not all done up in a suit or anything. They got, like, you know, a t-shirt and a ball cap on or something. And they're just relaxed, and they're like, okay, tell me what's going on. What's this? Explain the situation. What do you got? What's your idea? You want to ask that way to start getting an understanding of what is happening. And this can be done in personal relationships as well. If you have a conflict or if there's a situation, what's going on? Explain the situation. And then the second piece is you're going to want to ask some clarifying questions. So if they explain something to you and you're like, I don't quite understand what they're talking about, being able to ask clarifying questions so that you are clear and you do truly understand. You can picture what they're talking about in your own mind, okay? That you're not just making assumptions, because assumptions make an ass out of you and me, right? So ask clarifying questions to be able to understand and make sure that it makes sense to you. And then the third piece, so just like I had talked about, that leaders don't just give the answers, they ask for clarifying questions, and they will also ask questions. So if you identify that there's a gap in how they've explained something or they've missed a piece, being able to ask them, hey, what is your plan for this? So they may not have thought of that, or they may have thought of it, but they're not bringing it up for a particular reason, or they just wanted to focus on one piece, those kind of things. But being able to identify that by asking a question instead of giving the answer. So example, say somebody is putting on a potluck at work and they're like, okay, we're going to invite these teams, we're going to have this time, this is the food list, everybody signed up, this is where it's going to be posted, this is the cutoff, all that kind of stuff. And then you as a leader might be going, okay, so it sounds like you have everything all planned out. Have you thought of the cleanup time? And what's the plan for that? Because we do have a meeting in that boardroom right after, and these are the people that are coming in. And they might go, oh shit, no, you know what? I didn't think of that. Or, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to plan that. We're going to end 15 minutes early or whatever. You allow somebody to put that action plan into place and identify the gap of not taking it away from them, not solving the problem for them, but identifying a potential area they may not have thought of. And when you think of it in that way, you can help build their belief that they can solve the problems. Okay? And a lot of times you're going to want to soften or buffer this. So when I talked about testing assumptions and making sure that you're asking clarifying questions, think of, say we're going to make a Reese peanut butter cup. Chocolate. So test your assumptions. It's like, okay, so we need to have chocolate, we need to have peanut butter. Is there anything else, or is that all that we need? So test your assumptions. Maybe you assume, oh, all we need is peanut butter and chocolate, we're good to go. Well, no, you actually need some sugar, you need some of this, you need some of that, right? And you also need, like, you know, the mold to put it in, and how's it going to cool? What are you going to melt the chocolate in? All those kind of things. So test your assumptions, ask clarifying questions. And then if they give something that you're like, I don't quite understand, or maybe you agree with part of it, but you don't agree with another part of it, you can, you want to, when you ask the question, you're going to want to have a buffer with it, and you're going to want to be able to give some sort of positive reinforcement. So example, okay, I understand that we need chocolate, we need peanut butter to make these. I don't understand why we need the sugar. Isn't the peanut butter already sweetened? Isn't the chocolate already sweetened? Well, help me understand why we need sugar for this. Oh, well, because it binds it together, and you also need this, and this is why we have to kind of do it this way. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So now you've got a clarification. Or you might be completely lost. It's like, what? Wait, we're putting chocolate and peanut butter together? That's never been done before. I don't understand how this works. Can you try to explain that to me in a different way? Like, how is this going to work? Like, are we just taking some chocolate, putting peanut butter on top of it? What are we doing here, right? And then that gives the person an opportunity to change the way that they're explaining it to you, because you've requested it to be explained in a different way, because you take ownership of it first. I missed something. I don't quite understand something. So rather than, this doesn't make any fucking sense, right? Because I've had managers do that. It's like, well, that's just stupid. This doesn't make any sense. We're not doing that, right? And you could be missing out on a really great opportunity if you added that product to your line, right? Kind of thing. So the next thing is, right, so that's the third thing, actually, is I think I might have missed something. I don't quite understand how this works. I can't vision it in my mind. So being able to add softening buffers to it, making sure that you give positive reinforcement for the pieces that you really like. The plan that they've come up with helps build their belief as well. It's like, you know what, I think these are great ideas. I really like this. We just need to plan for what's going to happen with the boardroom for the cleanup after the potluck kind of thing. So these are all like simple examples that I can kind of give you of building people's belief, because if your team doesn't have belief, they are not operating at their fullest potential. You have to convey that belief that the work that they're going to put into it is worth it. That if they did this work, it is 100% going to happen. It is possible. Because if they sense that you don't really believe it's possible, because I promise you I've had those kind of too. Have you ever had a manager give you an assignment that they got from their higher ups? That they're just like, yeah, we gotta fucking do this. I don't know why we're doing it. I've told them a million times it's not gonna work, but here you go, you gotta do this. And you're like, great, another make work project. I friggin' love that. Right? It's like, nah, just put in the reps. They're not listening to me, so that's what you gotta do. You know, and I've been guilty of that on my side too, because if you're in a toxic environment where you're not allowed to actually speak up, you're not allowed to give a differing opinion, then it becomes a problem. Now, if people are allowed to have that voice, then the times where you have to say, you know what, I just need you to do this, and not really argue back with it, they're going to be much more bought into that process of just, okay, I trust you, and then making sure that after you have that situation, you go back and you revisit, did you actually need them to just do it, right? Did you go back and thank them for just blindly following your orders? and not questioning anything? Did you go back and show them appreciation? Thank you. I just needed that done, and that helps so much. I didn't have a whole lot of time to explain, but here's why we kind of had to do it this way, just so that you have some sort of understanding with that. That really helps people. It builds a lot of confidence, a lot of respect, because they feel respected by you. You're acknowledging that they just went on sheer blind obedience, right? But if you just default to that and you forget to go back and do that step, and then the next time you come along, even if that was months later, they could end up having the perception of you, it's like, oh, he doesn't care what my opinion is. They don't care what my opinion is, so I just have to do whatever they tell me. That will erode somebody's belief that they don't matter. Their opinion doesn't matter. So then they start feeling not valued. And that's a very subtle way that toxicity can start creeping into your environment without you realizing it. And we've all been guilty of it, where we just get busy and it's like, I just didn't have friggin' time to explain. There's so much going on. Do they not understand what I've got going on? No, they do not. Especially if you're the business owner. No, they do not. And they don't really care until they know that you care about what they are doing for your friggin' business. There, I said it, right? Because nobody is going to care about your business more than you. So if you don't care about the people that you brought on to help solve your problem, then why should they care about you? Why should they care about your customers? You have to make sure you instill the belief that they are valuable to you, that you see their worth, that even if they mess up, you still have their back. Because if not, they're going to start operating from a belief that they're not valuable. They're going to start operating that their opinion doesn't matter, that there's no point. They won't get your recognition, they won't get your attention, and they don't feel that love because we spend time with what we love. So if you don't provide that love, that attention to them, then they are going to be left to their own devices and make up their own conclusions based on their limited information. They do not have access to the information or the knowledge that you do as a leader. So you must communicate. Otherwise, you can unknowingly start creating toxicity in your work environment that it's not going to show up this time or that time or the next time, but you're going to end up having shit blow up on you and you'll wonder, what the hell happened? I don't get it. Why are they flying off the handle? They didn't even give me a chance to explain. But meanwhile, they've explained 100 times before of what was going on, what they didn't like, what they saw as a problem, and it got dismissed. It got dismissed, and that neglect is the biggest red flag that can happen in your business. I mean, think of how many things that you have going on in your day-to-day, because I know you probably have capacity, like say for 100 things, and you've got 5,000 that you have to do. So shit's always fallen by the wayside, right? That happens whether you're in corporate. It happens even more if you're an entrepreneur. So what are the things that you know that you are neglecting that are going to come back and bite you in the ass? What's one thing that you can do today to change that, to get that off your plate? And it's usually something that is not measured to a KPI that you actually need to go do. Go build that belief in your team. Go build that desire in your team. It will help them take action. Without that belief and desire, the actions that they take are going to be mediocre at best. Okay? So, with that, guys, I hope this was helpful. I come on here every night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and I will be uploading this onto YouTube. So you can go check out my YouTube channel, the other lives that, thank you, Mark. I'm so glad that you came back. Thank you. love the positive feedback. It does help. It helps build my belief that this is a worthwhile cause. So check out my YouTube channel, Coach Tina B 125. You can see some of the other lives that I've done. I'm still going through the backlog, but I've posted some of the more recent ones. You can go back and listen to the training, and then hopefully I'll post some of the older ones, and you'll see that this one was actually an improvement. I have a lot of work to still do, but getting better every day. So guys, it has been fun. If you guys have questions or there's certain topics that you wish me to cover, let me know and I will bring that up or do a training on it. Okay? Thanks guys. Have a great night. Bye.